Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Meade, and joining me as always, you better believe he set off a metric ton of explosives last night, my brother Mike.
Can I make my mortgage payment? No. Will my kid be going to college? Certainly not on my dime. But did I light up that sky of Greenwood, Missouri? You bet your ass I did. I lit that sky on fire.
Everyone received a treat last night, and that treat was Mike's fireworks explosion extravaganza.
That's right. So that's how you display your freedom, as we all know.
Yep. Some whistling bungholes, some
some Husker Do's,
kitty chasers,
some Husker Do's.
I'm sure there are some millennials out there who could catch that reference. Anyway, on this week's episode of Royals Weekly, a baseball podcast, ostensibly, we're going to talk a little bit about this awful, soggy dump of a week that the boys in blue took out there on the field. I'm starting to see what that reviewer said. We had a reviewer leave a comment that we were unsafe for children. And I'm like, is that us? Maybe it's us. I get it.
That's my bad.
But we are going to discuss the play on the field to some degree. We're going to discuss the Royals offense and their streaky nature during our spotlight segment. And then, of course, we'll preview this week's games. We do need to make a little programming note. Normally, every year we have a nice little live episode to go alongside the draft, like a live draft watch along. We're not going to do our live draft watch along this year, because we frankly just haven't had time to prepare for it. There's a lot that goes into making it happen. It's high stress. It's like all this sort of stuff. We got a lot going on. We can't be doing that sort of thing, but we will provide plenty of content after the draft, recapping the picks that are taken and all that sort of stuff. So you'll get plenty from us both here and on the Royals Weekly Substack. We'll go through a lot of that stuff over there on the Royals Weekly Substack. If you're interested, make sure to subscribe, royalsweekly.substack.com. Yes, I still use crude humor over there as well, and so be prepared for that. But at the same time, you get no ads, 2 ad-free episodes every single week. The no ads is nice, I got to admit. I prefer a no ads episode. And so you get 2 of those, a Mike's Dropped on Fridays, a midweek episode from us, and an article. I wrote a special article this week on the bullpen and the prospects that exist in the farm system for relief health. A little hint, there's not a ton of them. And so, but give that a look, royalsweekly.substack.com. We really appreciate the support. Also, make sure you're rating and reviewing us everywhere. Apple Podcast review, YouTube. Sometimes we read the comments on there because they're nice. They sound like reviews, kind of. And so if you have something you want to say, you want to let us know that you're enjoying the show, or you have a thought on the team or what we've said, go ahead and leave it on YouTube as a comment, or let us know in an Apple Podcast review. We love to hear from you. We'll start the review of last week with roster news. There was quite a bit, but it was all mostly kind of small stuff. But I do want to talk about a few things. The Royals, one of the move the Royals made is they optioned John Rave back to AAA. I thought we might talk about that, considering the Royals are going to be giving a lot of guys chances and opportunities throughout the rest of the year. So it's interesting to see them send Rave back down, considering that they have nothing to play for, so they might as well give guys chances. Mike, what are your thoughts on seeing John Rave back in Omaha, despite the fact that he didn't play terrible while he was here?
Yeah, I kind of was wishing that he would have gotten a little bit more of a chance when he was here. They were playing him in very, very specific and defined roles, and sometimes late pinch hitting late in games and things like that. I think if you're going to get a chance to see if John Rave can be even a 4th outfielder for you, and maybe they don't see him that way. Maybe they say, no, because we don't like you in center. You're not going to be our 4th outfielder. You're just another guy. Maybe you're our 5th or 6th outfielder, whatever it is. And they see that more of Tyler Tolbert having a better skill set for that. Maybe that's why they don't give John Rave more of a chance. I would have liked to have seen him in there a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen him stay up. I think some of the at-bats you're giving to Cameron Meisner are ones I would rather have for John Rave personally. And I'm fine with Rave even taking a shot in center field. Not necessarily that he needs to play out there every day or anything, but we saw him play center field some last year. Not terribly embarrassing center field. So I'm completely okay with giving John Rave more chances, or at least another look again this year if they have that opportunity, because I thought he was performing pretty well.
Yeah, I'll give you a sense of how well. He was walking at a 15.6% clip. Now, this is just in 21 plate appearances here in Major League Baseball, but he walked at 21 plate appearances. He walked 14.3% of the time, which is really good. 33.3% strikeout rate. That's not great. He only hit 222, but he had a 333 on base. That's pretty good. A 611 slugging. So his weighted runs created plus while he's in the major leagues this year is 151. That's quite good. And that's maybe one of the things that distinguishes him from Cam Meisner a little bit is he has more game power than Meisner does. And I think that's interesting and something that the Royals could explore. I would like to see him get a little bit more of an opportunity. And I think he might, especially if they move Lane Thomas or Kyle Isbell or both at the trade deadline, or either one of them is hurt or something like that. I think he'll probably get a little bit more opportunity, but he is a 28-year-old player. So there's nothing where you're like, oh no, you're hurting his prospects. That's not really a thing. But, for a team that is looking for a little more consistent offense, it's an odd move to send down a guy who's had 21 quality plate appearances for you in Major League Baseball. And I don't just mean that by the stats. I watched him in all these plate appearances as well. I like what I'm seeing. I like watching him pick out premium pitches to do damage on and that sort of thing. I thought he was doing pretty well when it came to what he looked like at the plate. Is his batting average great? No, it's not. But maybe that's the formula he sort of found is, I'm not going to be a high batting average guy, but I'm going to walk a ton and I'm going to give you enough pop for it to really matter to my offensive portfolio. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he could be that kind of guy. And maybe it is just a fourth outfielder, but you can think of a lot of worse fourth outfielder profiles than that. I'll tell you that right now. In a move that was just had to be a gut punch after all the things that have gone wrong for the Royals, Chris Bubic suffered yet another setback in his rehab. And as a result, they moved him to the 60-day IL. No, it doesn't matter that much compared to the IL he was on previously because it'll be up in like a week. He hasn't pitched for so long. But this does indicate that maybe he will not be back in time for the Royals to move him by the August, 1st or 3rd or something like that trade deadline. It's in early August, one of the first few days of August. Mike, what are your thoughts on seeing Bubic have yet another setback and be moved to the 60-day IL?
Yeah, you said it, gut punch, because even if some like miracle, it's been 60 days, he's feeling better, whatever, you're not talking about, he went on the IL for elbow issues. The setbacks have been because of shoulder issues. And so you're talking about a guy whose value has plummeted to nothing on the trade market, even if by some absolute miracle you were able to get him back to pitching and in the rotation or even in the bullpen. So it's pretty much the hope of trading Chris Bubic is dead at this point. Your largest trade chip has now gone bye-bye. You're hoping you get Kyle Isbell back in time, maybe that he can be some value to you in the trade market. That's yet to be seen. You're hoping, even though, I don't know. He's like doing a rehab start now, right? Kyle Isbell?
Yes, I think they sent him
or
out
at least started baseball activities. So there's a chance there, but your only real chance at getting value is now going down the drain. And that kills the Royals with this, what are you going to do? Like what now? The value of Chris Bubic will just be walking out the door.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's just going to be gone after this year, which is rough. So I've heard some people be like, well, make him a qualifying offer. You want to give $22 million to a guy who has not stayed healthy for a whole season?
Hell no.
Or in the last 3 or 4 years, that's insane. That's an insane idea. It's brutal because, we mentioned it during the off season. Like this was one of the risks that you run when you don't trade him during the off season. Is that you're going to get into the season, he's going to get hurt, and he's going to make it impossible to trade him before the trade deadline. That's what he's done. It's also going to kill him in free agency because nobody's going to trust him to be a legitimate starter. He's not getting starter money.
He's getting like a 1-year deal.
He's getting a 1 year, $4 million, $6 million type deal. He's not getting any sort of like multi-year contract. And so that sucks for him. It sucks for the Royals. It's just a bad situation all around. But it is, people are asking me questions online like, should they try and like rebuild for 2027 and compete again? And it's like, it's hard to answer, but one of the things making it tougher is that they do not have trade chips at this trade deadline, like valuable ones. And that's one of their most valuable ones, just sitting there on the shelf. Mike, the Kolek family has at least got some better news, I guess. The Stephen Kolek was back from the family medical emergency list. And so he came out and pitched like 2 innings. Didn't look like he was actually like fully back mentally necessarily, or maybe even physically. So he pitched threw a ton of pitches in 1 inning, and then they pulled him. What are your thoughts on getting Kolek back from the family medical emergency list? Are you hoping to see more of him as we move forward?
Yeah, because he's my boy, and I'm hoping to see more of him. But That was a little odd to me, that outing that he had where he throws like 42 pitches or 43 pitches in an inning, which is a lot. And it's crazy hot, crazy humid, all that stuff. And I understand. And then they bring in Dobnak after him. Like he gave up some runs, but he wasn't getting torched or anything. And so it was a little bit odd, but I get it. Like, why risk it at this point? If he goes down, you're in deep shit. And
you're in deep shit already. It doesn't really matter. Like, what does it matter?
But I'm completely fine. I'm glad to have him back. I'm completely fine that they pulled him. It's a little odd to me, but I'm okay with it. Let's put him out there and see what we have in Stephen Kolek as, a part of our rotation for 2027. You get him coming back in 2027. You get Ryan Bergert coming back for 2027. Noah Cameron, well, for most of 2027 for Bergert should be Noah Cameron as well. And so we've got to see what some of these guys can do because they're going to have to fill spots for next year.
Right. I think the uncertainty that we have with the rotation going into next year is just massive.
The Reagan's uncertainty is
people aren't talking about
it just looms over this rotation.
What uncertainty? Like, yeah, at this point, the uncertainty is closer to certainty that you can't prepare.
Certainty he won't be in there.
Like, yeah. We know he won't be in there to start the year. And so that's out the window right now. Like, and so obviously the Royals cannot make him a part of any sort of future plan. He's supplemental. He's the icing on a cake. He's the extra stuff. Like, you can't plan on that being there. And so, they got to see more of Kolek this year. They got to know, like, do we have somebody who we can rely on in 2027? They got to fill innings. Somebody's going to have to pitch these games. Like, there's a lot of function he's going to have. Good to have him back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully he can start being a little more effective than he was in this most recent outing, but hopefully his mind gets to focus a little bit more intently on baseball. I know having the kid, family medical emergency list and that sort of stuff, his mind may not have been 100% on baseball, and that's fine. But hopefully things start, getting a little more ironed out and feel better for him on the field. Speaking of on the field last week, the Royals only played 5 games, but they managed to go 1-4. Which was bad, right? And what did this do? At least coming into today, now they did win today, but coming into today, they had the worst record in baseball. Yes, in the entirety of baseball, they had the worst record. So after today's win, they're up to 36-54. Not sure if that's the worst or not, but it's certainly down there. They took a series sweep from the Rays. The Rays swept them here in Kansas City, and then they went ahead and took a series loss, they lost the first 2 games of the Phillies series. They won today, and then they have a game tomorrow against the Phillies as well, I believe.
They lost the first game. They won today. The last game of the series is on a Monday, which is very weird.
What? See, this is why I'm getting so confused.
Yeah, Mark took a vacation, and so now he's confused.
And I'm done.
But yes, it was that weird thing where they didn't play on Friday. And it's a 3-game series, so it's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They lost that first game on Saturday.
Won the second game today, which Mike attended. And then they'll have the final game of that Philly series on Monday. So in that 1-4 week, we saw some poor pitching. We saw some poor offense. We saw some poor defense. It was a real smorgasbord of terrible baseball. Mike, how'd you see the last week?
Well, just as you described it, a smorgasbord of terrible baseball. You score a total of 6 runs in the Rays series over 3 games.
That's not good.
Yeah. Then you score it's 4, 0, and 2, I think is how it landed in that Rays series. You waste a really solid Lugo start in game 2. Just pissed that right down the drain. This team is more disappointing than my illegitimate children. Okay. That's what I have to say about that. Okay. It's brutal. It's brutal. You watch it out there. You're saying it's not, you think you get a little bit of hope. You think you've got something going. Maybe you can hang your hat on these young guys and kind of dream on Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione in June. And then Jack has kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. So it's like, what is there to be happy about with this team? Very little to be happy about with this team right now.
Yeah, and every time I see it, I'm just reminded of how important a solid pitching staff is, because now we see maybe some talent in the pitching staff, but Luinder Avila is like playing Russian roulette. Every 2 or 3 spins, boom, you're dead. Like, there's nothing consistent there. Noah Cameron lately, not super consistent. Like they're bullpen gaming every once in a while. They got Kolek down for reasons. And then, it's like the lack of consistency in this rotation. Seth Lugo hasn't been all that consistent. Like, it's just really crushing any opportunity they have to get what feels like a string of good games going. They had a decent string of games going in June at one point, but that's when the offense was super hot. Offense cools down a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, now we're just leaning on inconsistent pitching, and that's it. And it's like, okay, that's rough. We need to get back to the days of a really consistent pitching staff. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But Mike, we had to have some strong performers. It must have been tough to find them because I saw yours, because you filled out yours. I'm like, that's all you got for a strong performer? All right. But then I looked myself and I'm like, yeah, it's real barren in there. Who'd you choose to single out this week?
Yeah, it was really hard. Now, I could have picked Bobby Witt Jr. because he had, any week he has is pretty solid. But I went with Isaac Collins because, one, he had a good game today when I was out there. He had, I think, 2 hits today. One of them was a double. At least one of them, maybe both of them. He ended up getting hits after challenging a strike 3 call and winning. At least one of them was that way. The double was that way. I know that. I know. And it was like, oh, that's beautiful. But he's been actually better over the last couple weeks. But 4 for 12 this week with 3 runs scored, 2 doubles, a home run, an RBI, no walks, but only 3 strikeouts. And I bring him up because looking into 2027, if he can improve, right now he's a guy whose OPS is in that 675 range. It needs to be 750. 7 to 750 would be like, hey, okay, Isaac Collins, you're a 2.5 WAR guy that we can kind of count on. I like him in big situations because I think he takes decent at bats kind of consistently. But I need Isaac Collins to be a consistent contributor moving into next year so we can say, okay, he's not going to be the best part of your outfield, but he's an okay part of your outfield. He's a player that can have a role in this offense in 2027, and you don't feel like he's hurting you.
Yeah, that would be huge if the Royals could get there. I think I looked at his numbers. He's got like a 91 weighted runs created plus on the season. And remember, of course, he was hurt going into spring training and really struggled in that first month. But since then has played pretty well. I mean, since then has done basically what you expect from Isaac Collins, which is like the power is not going to be anything you associate normally with corner outfield play, but he gets on base quite a bit. He takes good plate appearances. He gets some singles, hits some balls into gaps occasionally. That's really all he can offer, basically. And so it would not surprise me if by the end of the year, he comes in with like an OPS around 710, right around league average. If he's like a 100 weighted runs created plus by the end of the year, would not surprise me at all. But yeah, they would love it if he can do something more consistent and a little bit better next year. They would love that. I'm going to single out today's starter because he got him a win. So, that's pretty rare. That's Luinder Avila. Went out and threw 5 innings today, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. I was impressed because he threw 69 pitches. Nice. But he also threw 41 strikes. And so that was cool. Normally you want that sort of 2/3 ratio. That was closer to what he 2/3, and then they pulled him, which I understand. He's, you want to sort of protect him before things get even more difficult where he's having some success. And so that was nice to see. But again, it's one of those, he needs to make those consistently, even if he's just consistently 5 innings of strong pitching, that's fine because you're like a 5th starter anyway. But you can't be like, oh, next time out, I threw 40% strikes and gave up 6 runs in the first 2 innings. It can't be like that.
So here's the deal. As watching this live, all I could think in those first 2 innings especially was, boy, the Phillies bailed him out a couple times. Yeah. Because he was about to put guys on and they swung at pitches that were not in the strike zone. And he got bailed out a couple times. And if that can happen, he's going to be great. But that's why, as you mentioned, it's like playing Russian roulette. You're spinning that barrel and there may be 2 bullets in that 6-shooter with Luinder Avila. So I think more and more, the more evidence we get going in, and they put some of his numbers up on the board today. I was looking at him. It's like, yeah, those look like reliever numbers to me. So I think that evidence is mounting that he's more of a 1-inning reliever, or maybe a multi-inning guy. But I think 1 inning is probably a little bit better with the inconsistency of strike throwing that we see from Luinder Avila. Yeah, I do too, honestly. And in a post I made today, I think for the Substack I wrote for today, I mentioned Avila as a relief option as we sort of think about how they should make changes for the future.
Mike, a lot of people had weak performances. It was difficult to find one, but difficult. There were plenty, but it was difficult to choose one. Who'd you go with for a weak performer for last week?
I went with Jack Caglione because he's kind of the linchpin here. We need, if you want big time offensive output, he's going to have to produce. He went 3 for 19 with 0 extra base hits, 1 RBI, 0 walks, and 4 strikeouts. That means 3 singles, and with one of those scoring, or with 1 RBI, is his entire offensive output for the week. Not going to be good enough if this team's going to consistently win games because of their offense.
Yeah, not good enough. But here's the thing, it's tough. It's tough. We knew that it wouldn't be as hot as it was in June for the entire rest of the season.
Yeah.
The question is, how does he adjust when they adjust? How does he handle a slump like this? Does he get back to, okay, I got a little too aggressive. Let's get back to simple. Let's get back to basics. Let's, zone in on pitches I can do damage on and stuff like that. I hope that that's the case. But another question is, how long does it take him to get back to that, right? Like, it's not just, does he get back to that? How long? If it's 4 weeks, that's a problem, right? If it's a week, they can probably handle that, right? Like, and so hopefully he can start getting back into that good approach, figuring out what he needs to do, and builds a little confidence, that he probably has something he can do. Like, for example, he was having some success hitting the ball the other way against lefties and stuff like that. If he starts doing some of that, sees some singles fall in, maybe then the extra base hits start to come as confidence starts to build, but he's got to stay within that approach. It's got to stay consistent. The guy I'm talking about is a guy we've been asking a lot of questions about. I think we talked a little bit on the midweek about whether or not he should be in the future rotation plans. That's Noah Cameron, my week performer for last week. He went 3 2/3 innings pitched, gave up 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs, 3 walks, 0 strikeouts in that 3 2/3. That is not a line that screams, I'm a rotation stalwart. I do think there was some bad defense mixed in there to some degree. He's had some bad defensive luck lately, but that's just not good. Like, it's not good enough. It's not missing enough bats. It's giving up too many home runs. It's giving up too many walks, right? Like, it's not going to be successful. Mike, did you see anything from Cameron that scared you this week?
Yeah, just the same stuff of if he's not locating breaking pitches on the edges, he's going to get roughed up big time. The other thing I'll mention, though, you mentioned the bad defensive luck. Kolek had some bad defensive luck in his outing, too. 2 balls went off Meisner's glove to end the big inning that he had. And it's like, dude, he makes one of those and we're out of it.
Strom had bad defensive luck today.
Yeah.
Not Strom. Schreiber had bad defensive luck. Rojas throws that ball into right field.
Oh, my gosh. Yanked it. Just yanked it into right field.
Rough. And we need Schreiber's ERA to stay at now. That created an unearned run. We need him to his numbers to stay as low as possible so we can trade him. Anyway, I digress. Mike, let's get to themes. Not a great week. We've had to come up with some pretty downer themes, but you came up with one from a hilarious movie. So go with it.
Yeah, I found this one from the classic 90s comedy, So I Married an Axe Murderer. And I cannot honestly for the life of me remember if this was Mike Myers' character's dad, because he's got all the funny lines in the movie, yes, or if it was Mike Myers playing himself. I can't remember, but he says, Scotland has its own martial arts. Yeah, it's called Fuck You. It's mostly just headbutting and then kicking people when they're on the ground. And that's what I'm thinking is happening to the Royals right now. They're just getting headbutted and kicked while they're on the ground. That's it. That's the whole thing, because we can't get up to save our lives.
Yeah. Boy, we picked a heck of an episode to like read that review before this. Now we're just doing all this stuff.
Now we're just so cursing.
I love it. We're cursing. We're talking, defecating references. It's great. This is Royals Weekly, folks. Welcome to it. Yes, I love that theme. Great theme. That's basically what the Royals are experiencing. Okay. What my theme for this week is probably not a direct quote. I could not find the direct quote on the internet because it's tough to find, but I distinctly remember this existing in an episode of Monk. If you've ever seen that show with
starring the great Tony Shalhoub,
brilliant man, brilliant actor, brilliant performer. He plays this character who has OCD, and it's in the episode where there's like a trash strike. So nobody's picked up trash in San Francisco, which is where it's set for the entirety of the episode or whatever. And he's like freaking out because he's like a germaphobe and all this stuff. and he's like talking to the mayor or something, and he's offering suggestions, and his big suggestion is burn San Francisco to the ground. Right? And he's like, he says it in the most like rational way, like excited to do it, you know, like. And so I don't know if this is the exact quote, but this is the sentiment. It's something like, burn it to the ground. Then you gather all the ashes and you burn the ashes. I'm talking scorched earth. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm feeling about the Royals right now. I don't think they should actually do that, but like, that's how I'm kind of feeling about it, if that makes sense. Mike, what household chores do you refuse to do yourself?
Window cleaning, pressure washing, and most importantly, gutter cleaning.
And why is that?
I can't clean my gutters. Can't even spell gutters.
I don't think you can, honestly. The 2 T's, how many G? You're out. You're lost. If you're wise like Mike, reach out to the professionals at Window Wolf for all your window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and pressure washing needs. Window Wolf is a locally operated small business with all the professional know-how to keep your feet on the ground and your house or business shining bright. I've known the owner of Window Wolf for years, and I can tell you that there's no one more reliable for high-quality service. Plus, Window Wolf is revolutionizing home maintenance with their new instant price calculator, which gives you a free quote without a home visit or entering a bunch of your personal information. Window Wolf is making the process easy and the price affordable. And for a limited time only, you can get 50% off when you book using their instant price calculator. Just visit windowwolf.com. That's windowwolf.com and use the code Royals50. That's Royals50, no spaces, when using the instant price calculator, and save big bucks on quality service.
50% off is my kind of pricing. I ask for it at every business I go to, including in a tub where I spend most evenings.
You can't tell, but he's there right now, honestly. He's like live.
Yeah. This is my podcast booth at Innotub.
Yeah, they love him there. Be smart. Let the pack handle your pains with Window Wolf. Can you hear all the fireworks? Good. A couple of weeks ago, the Royals offense was flying high. With Jack Caglione on a hot streak, the Royals were pounding the ball to left, right, and center. A resurgent offense carried them to an almost 500 June. You wouldn't know it by our tone, but they almost went 500 in June, I think. Maybe just a game or two under. But their rotation and bullpen were like crumbling at the time. Lately, though, the offense has returned to form. Not in a good way, in a bad way, which is to say that they started duking their Dockers again. In the last couple of weeks, they're hard-pressed to score more than 3 runs in any game. And with a pitching staff in shambles, it makes it tough to identify what they should be doing to overhaul the roster. Should they be focusing on pitching and hitting and what? Mike, what has happened to the potent offense of June?
I'm glad that you put it that way because our, friend and the godfather of Royals content creation, David Lesky, put out in a post this past week or the week before that, like this team is hard to analyze right now. They're hard to like talk about because so many things are bad, yet there's promise in certain places. It's really tough, especially with all the injuries, to analyze a team like that. But what happened to that potent offense of June? Well, we asked the question when that was happening, and that was, can Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione carry an offense that can carry this whole team? And we now have the answer to that. Right now, at least, no, they can't. Okay, we've seen Carter Jensen be really hot through June and even into this first part of July. We've seen Jack Caglione have a scorching hot June, but right now those two aren't in places to carry a team.
Right.
Okay.
Contrast that actually with the Phillies. Bryce
who
Harper,
basically
Kyle
do it with
Schwarber,
3 guys.
Brandon Marsh. They have 3 guys. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're through those 3 guys. Their pitching staff's not very good. Those 3 guys are carrying that team.
Yeah. Well, if you look at their rotation, it's 3 guys that are carrying their rotation too, and 2 guys that are friggin' terrible.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a very contrasting styles. They've got 3 guys that are world beaters. Well, 2 of them are world beaters, at least in their lineup. And we don't have that. We have Bobby Witt Jr. and then 2 rookies, basically, that we're pinning all of our offensive hopes on right now. And it's just not enough to consistently score runs. So, yeah, that's what happened. That's it. And that's why we're not doing what we did in June.
Well, Jack fading seemed to have such a huge impact. And I don't think we talked even enough at the time about how it wasn't just guys getting hits or guys getting hits with runners in scoring position or whatever. It was guys getting extra base hits. It was guys hitting doubles, hitting home runs. And it wasn't just Jack. There were some role players who have cooled off significantly too. Nick Lofton's cooled off.
Nick Lofton, your boy.
Well, he's still doing pretty good for the season, but like he's cooled off a little bit. Tyler Tolbert cooled off a touch.
Lane Thomas, although
Lane
he's
RBI playing pretty well still.
Yeah.
But it just, those guys can contribute this much, but Jack, who was contributing this much, falling off. And for those of you listening, you can't see, but my hands are pretty wide.
Good radio.
Yeah. Good audio format. Yeah. They're this big. It was this big. Yeah. The fact that he faded and now the power is basically all gone. There's no power in this team. Where are the home runs? Like, when's the last time they hit a home run? I don't even remember. It was definitely Carter Jensen. It was probably leading off, right? Like, and so that's a 1-run home run. Great job. But like, this is the type of cooling off we've seen. And without that big thump in the middle, they just haven't been able to do it. Mike, do you think this offense has long-term issues? We know that Carter and Jack and Bobby and Michael, they're all pretty young. Do they have long-term issues if they have those four as sort of a cornerstone?
Yeah, they still do. Right? At minimum, you still have uncertainty because yes, we've seen Michael Garcia have one successful year that we'd like to see him repeat or improve upon. But now that he's hurt, we haven't seen that. Yes, we saw him have a great World Baseball Classic, but that isn't Major League Baseball. We have not seen it consistently from Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione yet for even a full season. And so and now it looks like Father Time has caught up to Salvador Perez despite the it was a 2-run double or whatever he had today. So yeah, there's definitely at the minimum, there's uncertainty. At the maximum, you're just short talent still in the lineup, and even if you say, okay, all those guys are going to work out and Michael's going to be who he was last year. And we've got Bobby and Carter and Jack are going to be the third and fourth guy in the top of your lineup. Who's coming after that? What's the bottom of your lineup going to look like? Because Kyle Isbell is probably walking out that door getting traded. You have Isaac Collins, and maybe you like him as an average guy, but is anybody else giving you anything above an 85 weighted runs created plus in the bottom half of that lineup that you currently have on your roster? No. And so, no, there's tons and tons of uncertainty.
You can't count on
not that you can count on.
That, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't
not guys you can count on. So you're short, what? 3 or 4 lineup pieces still, even if those other guys work out.
Yeah. Mike, that makes sense to me. I think the long-term issues are maybe questions about like, who are you getting in rotation pieces and stuff like that, more than like, who do you need as a cornerstone? Obviously they need a longer lineup than just those 4, but the question is, what they're not going to want to do is go out and spend big money on a free agent bat and stuff like that. We've seen how that really doesn't work out very often. And so my thinking is they're going to need a plan for what to do 5, 6, 7, 8. It also might be that they need to have a plan for how to avoid enormous sinkholes in their lineup, like Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez were for the first 2 months of the season, right? Like, we can talk all we want about like, well, the rotation's in shambles and that's true. And the bullpens are awful and that's true. But if somebody asked me, what's the biggest reason the Royals aren't competing this year? My first answer would be, well, their 3 and 4 hitter didn't hit for 2 months. Right. Like, and so they had no chance to even right out the gate. They were dead. Like, and so that's, I think, a big part of that problem. Mike, thinking of that, where do you see opportunities for improvement post 2026 beyond this year for the offense? Where are those opportunities for improvement?
I'm glad you said what you just said because this kind of plays into my answer for this one.
Good.
I definitely see it in the outfield for sure. We still need tons of help in the outfield for sure. That's obvious, especially if Jack is going to migrate to first base in any way or what they're going to do with Vinny. Second base is still a huge need. Okay. Probably DH as well. And that's where the Vinny Pasquantino thing comes in. You cannot count on a guy who has consistently shown that he can't perform in April, May, June, any of those months. Like the early in the season, Vinny Pasquantino has done nothing for you. And you cannot put him out there to do that again. You can't count on that. And so the Royals didn't extend him. If somebody comes up that you're like, hey, this is an improvement at DH. Okay, then Vinny Pasquantino maybe is something else for you, or maybe he's playing first and or platooning or something like that with somebody else. Because if you're actually going to try and contend in 2027, putting him out there in April and May is a risk.
In my mind, it's almost a non-starter. I don't know how you could make that decision considering what you've seen for 4 straight years or 3 years or however many years it's been. It's just not at this point, it's not like, some sort of fluky thing. You have to prepare as if this is who he is, because this is who he's shown us who he is, right? Like, you may not be able to explain it, which is why you can't fix it. And you may just decide, hey, let's make this somebody else's problem and trade him, right? Like, but ultimately, you cannot go into the season thinking we're going to give him significant at bats in April and May again. You're just go ahead, shoot your own dick off, I guess. I like that's what you're doing, right? Like, and so you might as well start preparing for next year's trade deadline, because that's what we're talking about, right? Yeah, I think some addition by subtraction would actually help in this improvement, because we talked about it last year with MJ Melendez and Mike, who was the right fielder, Hunter Renfroe. Thank you. But, Salvador Perez is this year's that, right? Like, his performance has just been so far below average. And Vinny Pasquantino's performance were so far below average those first couple of months that they're just a detriment. Like, Salvi has the lowest WAR in all of Major League Baseball. He's like -1.5 FWAR, right? Like, that cannot get consistent playing time, and yet he gets consistent playing time, right? Like, you have to subtract in some way, either sit him and play him as a traditional backup catcher where he plays once or twice a week, something like that, or maybe he transitions to a different role with the organization. I don't know, but he can't receive 400 to 500 plate appearances next year. That he's proven he can't do it, right? Like, that's fine. Father Time catches everybody. That's just how it works. Same with Vinny. Like, I think you got to reimagine his role. You got to trade him. You got to do whatever you can, because he's not a reliable offensive performer, and you can't sort of bet your 2027 on him being something that he's frankly never been. And so, like, makes no sense to me. Mike, just real quick to wrap this up, how would you rank the offense in terms of priorities for upgrades? So we've talked about, well, they need all this help. They need this, they need that, but is it more than they need in other areas? Where should that prioritization go?
So I would still prioritize offense over pitching, which might sound crazy if you're like really looking at,
anything about baseball.
If you're looking at like, hey, we've got our most reliable pitchers in our rotation right now are older than dirt. And we've got Cole Reagans, who's not going to be ready for next year, probably at all, may not pitch at all next year. We've got Chris Bubic, who's walking out the door. But I still see it as very much of the farm system has shown the ability to develop pitching. Luinder Avila has shown that he can play a role somewhere, even if it's not the starting rotation. You've got Bergert coming back. You've got Kolek coming back. You've got Cameron coming back. You have Lugo and Waka under contract. I think they're going to be very hesitant to deal either one. I think they probably should deal at least one of them, but I think they're going to be hesitant. And so I think you really, the priority is still going to be the offense. And I realize why those are the reasons why it sounds crazy, but I think there is a baseline with the pitching, at least the starting pitching. The bullpen is bad, but it was going to be bad because we were relying on so many what ifs and so many like issues there. It wasn't going to be a deep pen to begin with. Bullpens are volatile. I think you can rebuild those relatively cheaply. I would go out and find a way to fix your offense that has been the anchor of this team for the last 3 or 4 years.
He's using anchor in a negative way, like it's weighing them down.
Not like not the anchor like, oh, we can count on this anchor, like hey, the mob just tied this thing around my feet. What's happening? Kind of anchor. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And so I would focus on the offense. If you're like, hey, we've got free agent dollars, we've got whatever trade ideas, what do we want to bring back? I'm looking at ways to stabilize the offense. And then I'm looking at pitching as more of like hey, maybe we can go out and get a guy who's more like a Michael Lorenzen to stabilize the rotation. Or maybe we can go out and find those types of pieces. And then if we're in it come July, middle of July, we maybe go trade for a pitcher that is the linchpin or the ace of our rotation.
I disagree completely, and let me tell you why you're wrong. Okay. I think what we've learned over the last 2 years and what we're learning again this year is that one, pitching is far more important than hitting, right? Like, and so, it's much more important to have a very good pitching staff than it is to have a good lineup, right? Because they can keep you in close games, right? And so we've lost a ton of close games late because of a bad bullpen. We've lost some games early because, we're pitching Mitch Spence or some other, ridiculous stuff, right? And so go out there, revamp your pitching staff, right? Let this core four develop. Witt Jr., Garcia, Caglione, Jensen. Yes, you can surround them with supplemental pieces, and you'll have Isaac Collins, you'll have Nick Lofton, you'll have guys who can be role players for you and things like that, and you can get other ones very cheaply, and maybe guys like John Rave fill some of those roles, or Matthew Lugo, who's continues to crush it down in AAA, or who's that for Brett Squires or something like that. Maybe you fill some of that stuff that way. But going out and making big moves for offense makes no sense when the offense is actually the only aspect of this team that is improving right now. Like, they're on the upswing right now. The pitching staff is on the down slope. But
we know why the pitching staff is on the downswing. We know why. There's nobody's in the pitching staff that we thought would be. That's the thing.
Well,
like,
yeah.
we thought this thing was a stable pitching staff at the beginning of the year.
Would be. We knew Lugo would be. We knew Waka would be. We knew, we knew all that. We knew there was a good chance Kolek would be at some point, right? Like, and so we knew all that, right? Now, granted, we would have preferred to have Reagans and Bubic in there, but we also knew that they're very injury prone, right? And so this is the thing. And when they make this pitching overhaul, they really have to. Last time they sacrificed availability, injury history, and stuff like that, injury risk for upside. That's what Cole Reagans was. They got him as cheap as they did because there was tons of injury risk, and it worked for a year, 2024. Now it's biting them really hard, right? The same with Ryan Berger. They knew there was injury risk. That's why they were able to get him and Kolek together, right? Like, but this time they got to prioritize guys who are going to stay healthy and be on the field, right? Like, they have to do that because more injury at risk is just piling on top of. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have to address the pitching staff first and then let the offense, the coaches you just brought in, make your offense better. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All in Physical Therapy, who don't just offer the best in physical therapy in the KC Metro. They also offer the best in summer speed and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to make big gains.
Your kid will start referring to their quads as watermelon crushers.
I've seen it. It's wild. If your child is interested in getting the most out of their athleticism, check out videos of All In's summer speed and conditioning programs on their Instagram feed. And of course, All In always offers the best in physical therapy for post-surgery or athletic injury patients. They offer a personalized one-on-one experience to meet your specific therapy goals.
You want to touch your toes again? Great. You want to be able to pick up a Volkswagen? They can probably make that happen too. If you could already do that pre-surgery.
Right. They're not like, they can't turn you into a bionic man or anything. Learn about how All In Physical Therapy can get your body on track at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give these very nice people a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. All In Physical Therapy, your recovery goals are their number one priority. As we mentioned previously, it's going to be a weird week because the Royals finish a series on Monday, which is very odd. So they're going to have one game against the Phillies to finish out that Philly series. That'll be Noah Cameron versus Christopher Sanchez. Sanchez, a very good starter for them, got a 2 ERA, 10-3 record, killing it for the Phillies. Not going to touch on that series because it's over after Monday. But that's
if you want more on that, go listen to Mike's drop episode.
Go listen to the Mike drop episode, royalsweekly.substack.com. Make it happen. Instead, we're going to talk about this East Coast road trip they're going to take. They're going to head out east for the last week before the All-Star break to face the Mets, who may be even more sad than the Royals, if you think about it in terms of they spent all this money and they're still terrible. So we're going to face the Mets, and then we're going to face the Baltimore Orioles, who are not as sad. Mike, give us a little heads up about these Mets as I write their record in there. Bam. Got it.
Okay. The New York Mets, and I think they've jettisoned a manager already, have they not?
I think so.
I believe they have.
So.
The New York Mets have been just down on their luck, awful, which you hate to see. Actually, you love to see it after beating them in the World Series. They are currently 37-53, which is good enough for last in the National League East. Yes.
Did you see that highlight? This was like a week or so ago. Somebody hits a ball into the outfield for the Mets. They like kick it around and give up an inside the park home run.
Oh
the
my gosh, that was
the commentator goes. It's like feels like 2015 all over again.
Oh, was that like the one that they hit at Soto and he basically jogged back to grab it?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they kicked it a couple times. Yeah, brutal.
Hilarious to hear, though. I suggest it.
Which is great when your payroll is like $200+ million.
Oh, it's $300+ million.
$300+ million.
Almost $400 million.
Whatever they're doing. We don't have any probables for that series just yet because both teams are in shambles. But the Mets offense is a paltry 89 weighted runs created plus, which is tied for 27th in Major League Baseball. Now, Juan Soto, superstar, 163 weighted runs created plus, perhaps one of the most polarizing players in Major League Baseball. Carson Benj has a 101 weighted runs created plus. Francisco Alvarez 105.
Both good young players, but it's basically just Soto and a couple average guys and a bunch of terrible guys.
Yeah, so they're not doing great. Pitching staff has been marginal at best at 4.25 ERA, which is 16th best in Major League Baseball. Christian Scott's got a 3.49 ERA. Nolan McLean is doing good with 3.78 ERA, and then Freddie Peralta, the ageless wonder, at 4.81, not as good as we're used to seeing him perform out of the bullpen, if I'm remembering right. So, not great for the Mets right now. What do we got for the Orioles after that? Love playing in Camden Yards, though. One of my favorite parks to watch a game in.
Yes. After that, they'll head to Camden Yards. The Orioles so far this year are 42-49. That's good enough for fourth in the AL East. So two teams they're facing this week that do not have winning records. Let's see how they handle that. Offensively, they're not bad. League average, a little better than league average. They got a 102 weighted runs created plus. That's 12th in Major League Baseball. Pete Alonso has been very good for them with a 129 weighted runs created plus. Blaze Alexander, a 122, and Samuel Basayo, a 119. It's a lot of names that aren't super familiar for the Orioles, but they're all playing pretty well. Nobody's standing out as a big-time superstar or anything, though. On the pitching side, as is tradition, the Orioles are just not very good. They have a 4.36 ERA as a team. That's 20th in Major League Baseball. Getting a good season from a young starter named Brandon Young, 3.38 ERA. Kyle Bradish, the old Grizzly vet, is rolling in there with a 3.77. And then Shane Baz has a 4.19 ERA. But other than that, it gets pretty rough in their pitching staff. So the Royals have a chance to maybe get some offense going against a couple of not tremendous pitching staffs. Hopefully they can grab some wins this week before the All-Star break, because that will take the Royals into the All-Star break. Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxher of West USA Realty. Word spreading about the hottest realtor in the Phoenix area. This kid's got the know-how. He's got the drive. He's got the thoughtful care to help you secure your dream retirement home. And let's face it, Phoenix is a dream, folks. Sun, golf, baseball.
And honestly, is it any hotter than what we've been experiencing here the last couple of weeks on the surface of the sun, a.k.a. Kansas City?
It has been a broiler.
Oh, my gosh.
Eric Oxher ranked in the top 3% of agents in all of Arizona for the first quarter of 2026. Why? Because he's the best. Because for him, it's not about him. It's about you. He's going to spend day and night grinding to find you the house of your dreams and get you the best price for it.
There's nothing like new house smell. It's like new car smell, but triple the maintenance costs.
Yeah, you know it. Find Eric Oxher of West USA Realty online at ericoxher.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text, 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. I'm going to turn it into a jingle for him. Be wise. If you're ready to make the move, let Eric make the experience all about you. Did you change my joke? Good. It works better that way. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just a Bit Outside segment where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike, there's lots going on. There's explosions happening outside my house right now. So, lots going on. What is going on in your world, in the world of the G-Hood?
Explosions happening right outside my house, actually, is what's mostly happening in my world right now.
America.
So I was going to do like a happy birthday, 250th birthday of the United States of America, but according to some reviewer, we are too political.
Too political. We're too political.
Yeah, so we're gonna white bread it down for you guys here. Gonna just have some skim milk here, and I'm going to talk about Wonderscope. Have you ever heard of Wonderscope, Mark?
I haven't. I'm curious.
You would love it. You would absolutely love Wonderscope. Now it's for children. Okay.
I don't care. What do I care?
So it's for small children. But if you had small children, I promise you would love this. It's a place in Kansas where kids can go play, but it's everything that you go play and do is kind of related to learning in some way.
Can adults
so it's
go
like
play
water.
Too, or?
No, I mean, you can go with your child. Don't try and wander in there without a child, or else we'll have another incident.
Why'd you tempt me with, Mark, you would love Wonderscope. What's that all about?
No. I got to take my son Lincoln there last week, and I had never actually been. My wife had taken him once before this, but we went, and it was on one of those blistering hot days that we had last week, and it was just awesome, man. And like, not only the ability for kids to go play, but to also do that and not even realize it, but they're learning when they do it. There's a water fixture thing where you get to learn about like fluid dynamics, where like, okay, when you put these things in here, this is kind of how a dam works. And so we talked about how a dam works, and you get to watch water move and like, kind of just do all that sort of stuff. And there's a great outdoor area too. We got to play in for a little bit, even though it was super hot, and just an awesome, awesome place in our greater Kansas City area to be able to go and take your kid, especially when it's super, super hot outside. And there's a sports area and there's a creative area where we didn't even get to go into the creative area because we'd spent so much time in the other areas, but where you can just go and create stuff. And just there's like a store where they can do like pretend buying and of like groceries and stuff. Just tons of really cool experience for younger kids. And it's hard because there's an age range of like 3 to 5 or 6 that can be hard to find activities and things to do for kids because they're not quite old enough to do some of the more active stuff, but they're not really young enough to do like some of the stuff that libraries do a lot of times. And so it's a really cool place, and I highly recommend it for anybody in the greater Kansas City area with a kid, in the age of, 3 to 6 or 7 would really enjoy Wonderscope there. It's around off Red Bridge Road, I think. And just a great, great time for families. So,
but not for adults who still love to learn.
Not for childless adults, Mark. No, don't go wandering in there. It's actually right next to a branch of the Mid-Continent Public Library. They're right next to each other. And they actually have, the weird thing is, if you go at the right time, they have passes that you can check out at the library to get into Wonderscope for free.
Nice.
Problem is, because the library is right there, they're like always checked out. So it's really hard to get them. But
with this mustache, forget about it.
Forget about it.
I'm talking about Springfield, Missouri. Mike mentioned I was just on vacation. It wasn't really a vacation. My partner and I decided to leave Kansas City for the weekend because we wanted to avoid all this fireworks nonsense that turns my house into what sounds like Baghdad circa 2005. And so we decided to hit the road, got an Airbnb in the woods in Springfield. It was so wonderful. I've actually never been to Springfield before, right? Like, I didn't realize that it's got a bunch of stuff, right? A bunch of cool stuff. We went hiking, we went kayaking, we did all this stuff. It was nice and quiet, relatively. We did hear a little bit of fireworks, but not much on the 4th. And so that was lovely and peaceful. But also, it was just really cool to check out all the stuff Springfield have. They have a bunch of like areas that you can like walk around and see these different bars and shops and restaurants and all this sort of stuff. I ended up going to this bar called which also had food, called the Golden Girl Rum Club. Can't recommend this place high enough. They had a bunch of different cocktails. It was my partner loved all the ones she had. I got some good food there, some cheesy bread and some queso and chips. We were just like getting a couple of little nibbles and then we're going to go get dinner, but we ended up eating a bunch there too. It was just a wonderful place, a great atmosphere at this place called Golden Girl Rum Club. Really liked it. And then we did a bunch of other fun stuff while we were there too. And so I highly recommend it. It was a ton of fun. If you ever get a chance, go down there, check out Golden Girl Rum Club. But if you also get a chance to just take a trip down to Springfield for a day or two, I had a really great time and I might do it again. So yeah.
Hey, Brad Pitt's from Springfield. So
I thought he was from Joplin.
Oh, maybe he is. I thought he was from Springfield. Remember. I'm pretty sure he went to high school in Springfield.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway,
he was in Ocean's 11. Who cares?
That's all we have for you this week. We'll be back again next week with more Royals Weekly. If you want more, check out the Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. Until next week, be good to each other.
And go Royals.